Meteorologist Erika Paige with us. Erika, I hope it's not going to be quite as cold as it's been because I'm still freezing.
Yeah, I know. I think a lot of us are kind of ready to put that one to bed and try and work in some warmer temperatures. And the good news is we will. It may take a little bit more time, but by this time next weekend, I think a lot more of us are going to be seeing 40s back in the forecast. So that's a little bit of what's ahead for us over the next 7 days. As for tomorrow, yeah, it's a little bit colder than what we were at earlier today, and we may get a couple peaks of sunshine before it's all said and done, because we're actually going to wrap up this kind of snowy end to tonight and give us a nice quiet start to the upcoming work week, at least in terms of the weather pattern. Maybe not so much in terms of the wind. That's going to be a factor as we look ahead towards your Monday. Doppler radar right now, we've been seeing some of those scattered snow showers, mainly hugging that US 30 corridor throughout the day today. A lot of that is slowly starting to come to a close, but there is a little bit of a boundary here, so we may have a couple more flurries before it's all said and done. But it's the activity you see out across Michigan that's eventually what's headed our direction. But I'll be honest, it doesn't bring us a ton in the way of additional snowfall. It's just a couple of those scattered snow showers that we'll deal with over the next several hours. So for now, most of us are sitting quiet. A lot of that snow that you see out towards the Youngstown area that moved through Canton earlier this evening still pushing its way down to the south, and temperatures have actually been warming over the last couple of hours. Most of us sit about low to mid 30s. Wind chill factor, though, still puts you about low to mid 20s as we kind of wrap up this evening. As for tonight, we will see that temperature fall once that boundary starts to roll through. That's what's going to spark those flurries, and temperatures about mid 20s by the time we wake up early tomorrow. And then as we get the day started, yeah, it's a little bit cooler and we may not get quite as warm as where we're at now, but I do think a couple peaks of sunshine are once again possible as we wrap up the weekend and look ahead towards the early part of this next week. We'll walk you through exactly what you can expect, because there are a lot of different systems that are going to be rolling through over the next several days, coming up in just a few minutes. The last week or so, we've really started to see a lot more of that ice developing out over the lake. We'll talk a little bit more about that coming up in the next half hour, but do expect that that ice is going to start thinning out a little bit here as we go through the next several days. And a lot of that has to do with the temperature ups and downs that we're going to see, not only through this weekend, but also into early this next week as well. Tonight, we've got a few flurries that we are tracking. I'm not expecting much in the way of accumulation with this system. It's going to be pretty scattered, and the air is still pretty dry, that a lot of this is likely not going to really stick or accumulate too much. At best, we're talking about a quick dusting, maybe up to ½ of an inch, if you can see a couple waves of snow rolling through. That will not be common with this next system. What it will do, though, is it knocks down our temperature just by a couple of degrees as we go through the day tomorrow. I do think we'll start out the day with a lot more of that cloud cover, and then eventually as the day goes on, work in a little bit more of that sunshine. We'll have to see how long the sunshine lasts, just because we may be running it a little bit close to sunset, but overall, it is the sign of what's to come headed into the early part of this next week, which means we're dealing with at least a quieter start to the week, but the pattern is still going to stay active, and we're going to watch for several different systems that roll through not only Tuesday into Wednesday as our temperatures slowly start to warm up just a little bit more. As for tonight, we're headed for the mid 20s. Again, winds are going to change from the southwest to the west about 10 to 15 miles per hour, so it's a little breezy, but again, we would expect that as that cold front starts to roll through. We'll watch for a little bit of light snow possible, and even tomorrow I can't rule out a few isolated flurries, but that is not going to be a common story, I don't think, for a lot of us. We're going to have a little bit of cloud cover around first thing in the morning with that west wind about 10 to 15 miles per hour, and that should help hold that temperature closer to the mid and upper 20s. This is the system we've been dealing with in parts of our area today. Was not a lot of snow for a lot of us. In fact, many of us, if you lived closer to the lakeshore, were enjoying a bit more of that sunshine earlier this afternoon. But those scattered snow showers out across Michigan, that's what's eventually headed our direction. I still think we're a couple hours out from really seeing more of that snow working through. So if you have to be out and about still over the next hour or so, you shouldn't really run into too many issues. A lot of this happens past midnight. You can see some of those scattered snow showers, but it's not really going to be snow for everybody. It's not an overly impressive cold front that's rolling through. Its best impact for us is just knocking that temperature down by a couple of degrees. Then you'll see a little bit more of that cloud cover through the day, though I do think we will find some thinning in those clouds to allow us to get a little bit of sunshine in here. But here's the thing. Once we go to bed tomorrow night, that wind is just going to steadily start increasing. Winds won't necessarily be overly gusty to get Monday morning started, but the more we get into the afternoon, the more we start to open up the door to potentially seeing winds gusting 35, potentially even up to 40 miles per per hour as we wait for our next system to come through. Now, you look at Monday on your future view, and it really looks like a beautiful day. It's going to be one filled with a lot of sunshine across the area. The wind will help to hold that temperature just a little bit cooler as we go through the afternoon. But come Monday night, we've got another system coming in, and that one will kind of kickstart this more snowier pattern that we're going to see for the next several days. Best chance for snow Monday night headed into early Tuesday. Depending on how quickly that system passes through, it may leave us relatively dry as we go through your Tuesday afternoon. So it's just something we'll have to watch over the next couple of days. What I will say, though, is once we kind of get past this midweek system after system that's going to be rolling through, you can see those snow chances through about Thursday, the pattern does take a significant turn. It may not look like it in terms of your temperature until we get into the weekend, but the way we're sourcing these next couple of systems will be very different from the start of the week to the end of the week. We'll explain a little bit more about that coming up in the next half hour.